City of Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded February 4, 2020.
All right, it is 2 o'clock. I will call to order the Tuesday, February 4th meeting of the Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission. We have a quorum present. Would you please call the roll?
Carlson?
Here.
Kirschling?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Westcott?
Here.
Ostrowski?
Here. Bob, good to see you again. We just have a couple of items, mainly housekeeping here. I'm going to go through quickly. For the commission, I know you have all received a copy of this magazine.
I framed
Look at
mine.
that puff guy in the centerfold.
Why weren't they signed? Mr. President, why weren't they signed?
I would encourage all of you to go in and read the actual great article inside. The Stevens Point Police Department leads the way in officer health. I have asked Chief Skibba to work with the author of this to secure reprints of the article. I seriously would like to have, right now the commissioners have the article and one alderperson. I want to make sure that all of the alderpersons, mayor, comptroller, have a copy of this article. I know you all have read it. It's extremely well done. But I've asked the chief to pursue that and get that into the hands of other city officials. I would also like to share with my colleagues that the long-awaited update from the League of Municipalities, this handbook I discussed several months ago, has finally arrived. It is fresh off the press, as we used to say. I'm going to take a quick look at it in the next day or two, then it'll be on file in Leanne's office. There's a few things in here I want to research that may be applicable to things we're currently working on that they have updated in their league manual. Also, colleagues, I want to bring to your attention the fact that we may still have to have a need for a special meeting of the Police and Fire Commission in February. An item or two, which was postponed from today, may need to be heard, and I would stress the word may, before our regular meeting in March. So keep an eye on your email if we need to call a special meeting. If you have any specific date in this month that you're not available or isn't especially very good for you, please let us know that, and we'll take that into our thinking. And I still think the important word there is may. We don't know yet. The other thing I want you to be thinking about is our April meeting falls April 7th, which of course is the presidential primary in Wisconsin. It is primary election day, and if we still have poll workers on the commission, historically, actually this room is used for poll workers now, or for polling, isn't it? Isn't this the new poll site?
This room or the adjacent room.
All right, so there's two things we have to consider. A, if we have poll workers still with the commission, when do you want to reschedule for? Historically, we either go later that week on a Wednesday or into the following, so give that some thought. All right, with that being said, we're going to move to item 3. We have approval of 2 new officers to regular police officer status. You have letters in your packet, commissioners. Chief Skibba, you have the floor, sir.
I can tell you they are doing well, and to the point where actually we are currently sending them to training to be instructors, one firearms instructor and one EVOC instructor. So again, seeing the next generation come in enthusiastic, want to be involved, and looking forward to seeing some great careers out of these two.
And clearly, I think it is Lieutenant Jeremy wrote the letters, right? Right.
Both of
And,
them.
you know, yes.
I will move approval
A second.
to regular police officer status, second by Commissioner Carlson. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Congratulations. Item 4, our presentation today from the Fire Service is on PFAS. Now, many of you may be familiar with the term. Maybe some of you aren't. For background quickly on this, the governor in his State of the State message addressed that he was putting together an executive working group to address the issue. There is pending legislation in front of the DNR, the Wisconsin legislature, in response to the governor's request for action on PFAS, which is a component contained in, Chief, help me out here, is it firefighting foam?
Correct, Class B foam.
Okay, so it is something we have to be aware of. We have to do something about it. And when I asked Chief Moody for some background on this, he provided an excellent report, and I asked him if he would present to the commission today. Chief Finn, is there anything else you want to do to lead into JB?
No, sir.
Okay. Chief Moody, you have the floor. Take as long as you want.
Sure. With that being said, like President Westcott asked, he asked if I'd talk a little bit today about what PFAS actually is. And with that being said, it's a fluorinated organic compound. It's man-made. It's been around since the 1940s. And I think the first thing everybody has to do when they hear this PFAS and the firefighting foam and this great scare, I think everybody just needs to take a deep breath, take a step back, and relax. And realize this has been around for 80 years. And it's a man-made product. It's in a lot of household items. It's in shampoos, it's in conditioners, it's in deodorants, it's in a lot of man-made pans that we would use for cooking, Teflon pans for cooking. So we use it on a day-to-day basis. The other thing with that is 95% of the people in the United States actually have PFAS already in their bloodstream. So where do we pick that up? As kids, we pick it up from household dust. So the PFAS is actually in household dust. From adults, we actually get it from fast food restaurants and with the packaging that the fast food restaurants use. So understanding what it is and where it is and how commonly available it is, it's everywhere. Everybody just needs to take a deep breath and kind of relax. Why there's such a hype to it is because it is actually found in our Class B foam. It's not in our Class A foam. In the fire service, we have two types of foam, Class A and Class B. Class A we would use for residential structure firefighting. Class B we're going to use for airplane crashes, fuel truck spills, for blanketing that material. Inside the fire service, in the Stevens Point Fire Department, we carry approximately 40 5-gallon pails of Class B foam. Now with that, some of that's ready to expire and has a 25 to 30 year shelf life. So that's how often we actually use Class B foam. It's not very often. We at the Stevens Point Fire Department don't use it for training purposes. We only use Class A foam. And if we were to actually use Class B foam, it is for life-threatening conditions only. Now with that being said, the President of the Commission is correct. August 23rd of this past year, the governor did come out and say that he wanted to curb the use of PFAS at this time. Not that we can't use it, that we just are going to curb the use of it, which means we're not going to use it in training exercises or to practice how to blanket things, but in life-saving or life-threatening situations, we can use it. Now, if we do use it, what we have to understand is it is the responsibility of the municipality if something were to go wrong. So with that being said, Chief Finn has shown a passion to and some enthusiasm to get rid of the Class B foam that has PFAS in it, has talked to the proper individuals about this, and it's going to come at a cost to this city if we were to get rid of this PFAS foam. Before we do that, though, I think we need to step back again, hold on, because there's a lot of things coming down the pipe as we speak currently. There's currently only one Class B foam out there right now that is what they would say completely 100% PFAS free, and that's Universal Green, 3% and 3%. After doing more studies, it's been found out that even if you purchase it at the price of $195 a 5-gallon pail, you have to actually have it tested, and right now the testing is coming back that it's positive for PFAS. So right now on the market, there's truly not a PFAS-free Class B foam. Also with that, before we go to this PFAS-free foam, we'd have to have all of our onboard foam containers on our trucks sanitized properly at another cost. Also, we're trying to push some of this back onto the manufacturers. So what we're trying to do is the state of Wisconsin has put together a Task Force 1 program at the state level for PFAS, and they're saying that the manufacturers should eat this cost. So if we're going to buy new, which Universal Green states they're the only PFAS-free foam out there right now, which is not true. FireAid, which is another company who has a product in the testing phases right now, has stated if and when we can be PFAS-free in Class B foam, we will do a 1-for-1 exchange. So if you purchase a 5-gallon pail of foam from us, we'll in turn take that other 5-gallon pail and discard it appropriately for you for no fee. I think that's something we need to stop and look at. Because at this point, to buy the Universal Green foam at $195 a pail and finding out it's not PFAS free, and then having to get rid of the old foam on our own, I think is a huge cost to the city. If we get rid of the foam, and if we have to get rid of the foam, the only place in Wisconsin currently that'll do it for us is a place out of Oshkosh. It has to be incinerated. So it has to be properly disposed of. The problem with this as we bring this forward, also, like Chief Finn knows, our Class B foam, a majority of it is going to be expiring at the end of this year. So we're going to have to make a decision on what we're going to do moving forward into 2021. Questions?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
How often do you use that foam? I'm just curious because if you've got stuff that's been sitting there 25 or 30 years and haven't used, how often is it used currently or in the recent past?
So we were able to go back in the records, and since that initial purchase from 93, 94, we've used it 5 times.
Okay.
That Class B foam.
So in 27 years, 5 times. All right.
Is there some,
Required to have it.
Chief, you just read my mind, are we required to have something like this?
Yes, we are. We have an airport.
All right.
Okay. Oh,
So, for the benefit of the commission, delineate the difference between Class A and Class B foam other than the Class B as the PFAS. Where do you use A versus B?
A would be used for residential structure firefighting, so on a house, something like that, where Class B would be for airport, fuel truck, large-scale incidences.
And A would not work?
A would not work.
Okay.
and now this, on the social side of it, not the firefighting side of it, if I pick up a can of deodorant or something, it's not going to list PFAS on there. It's one of the 5,000 chemicals that may be in there to make it up. Is that right?
Correct. It's actually, PFAS is so sensitive that when people actually go out to test for PFAS, when we're going out to test a well site or any other of those places, there's certain parameters that those testers have to take prior to going out and testing. Otherwise, they can falsify the test. So they're not allowed to use deodorant for 3 days prior. They're not allowed to eat certain foods 3 days prior. They're not allowed to shower with certain things or use certain lotions 3 days prior. So when they go out into the field and actually take those samples, they're true samples. So that's how sensitive it is.
Chief, you had said something to the effect of that if something went wrong with the Class B foam, it was the city's, and I don't remember if you said fiscal responsibility or responsibility. What would go wrong with the foam where it would be up to the city to, is it a cleanup? Is it every time you use it that there's a cost?
It would just be the cleanup of that incident.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, and I know you're not an attorney, but all I can think of is Roundup right now. All the commercials you see on TV for Roundup. If you've been exposed to Roundup, are we going to be seeing, have you been exposed to and is this a litigation somewhere along the line? That's what I'm thinking or seeing.
Right. Chief?
I don't think that's gonna come, okay? And Chief Moody's done a lot of work on this, and he's talked to experts in the field. But just to give you an example, when you test for something, it's usually in parts per million.
Okay.
PFAS are tested in parts per trillion.
Oh,
So that's,
Trillion.
it's way,
Yeah.
there's a big difference, and that's why when Chief Moody says someone going out test it, because it's parts per trillion, you can get a false positive.
okay.
The city is aware of this, it's been brought up. The comptroller knows about it. When we come up with a solution, because as Chief Moody said, we were originally gonna place all of it and do it right away. Now that new stuff's coming up with maybe possibly get it tested, so we're gonna wait and see. We have to, there's not a ban on it, we're not using it unless it's an emergency. So we'll make a decision towards the end of the year and keep this board advised what's going on.
Very interesting topic.
Is there only one truck that's carrying this? And that would have to be decontaminated or whatever you want to call it, or?
No, currently all of our trucks that have an onboard foam system have Class A and Class B available.
So it's transferred from the fives to a container, is that it? Or are the fives just stored on the truck?
So depending on which apparatus we're talking about, we have the ability to either put it in a foam inductor inside the actual truck itself, or actually take it out, put it in a pail on the ground, and then just put a siphon into it, actually pump it out. So, but we carry anywhere between 20 and 25 gallons of Class B foam on each apparatus.
Is it mainly the B, is it mainly because you're dealing with different chemicals when you have a truck fire or a plane fire, is that it? Or is it the way it suppresses fire, that's different from the A?
It's all of the above.
All of the above. Okay.
So it's the amount of fuel that you're going to have, what's involved, actually the chemicals involved, and how we're going to suppress it.
So contrary to what popular belief would probably be, you simply don't take a hose and wash it away after you've used it,
No,
because I'm sure that's what most people think.
Chief, what are other states doing? And clearly, this is something at a national awareness level. I mean, when you look at your colleagues around the country, are there different approaches, different is basically the country in a wait-and-see mode? What are other departments doing, Chief, or chiefs?
I mean, I don't know. I just know what the state of Wisconsin's doing. I don't know what other states are doing.
Okay.
it's currently all over the board. So currently, we'll go back to just the state of Wisconsin because I like to stay local. Madison is currently PFAS-free. They went to the PFAS-free foam. Fond du Lac as well has gone PFAS-free, and other departments are moving that direction. Others, though, other larger municipalities are waiting to see, because this is going to be quite a cost, an expense. So with this Task Force 1 set up through the state, through the Wisconsin State Fire Chiefs Association, they're trying to make strides into seeing what the best avenue is.
But didn't you say that the PFAS-free foam actually isn't free?
Correct.
So how could any municipality have PFAS-free
That's what they're stating right now, is it's PFAS-free. But what they found,
Truth is.
Universal Green 3 and 3 states that they are PFAS-free. That's what those two departments have gone to, and they're stating they're PFAS-free. But after the fact, they're going back and doing tests and finding out that's truly not PFAS-free.
Kind of like NA beer, same idea. There's really some alcohol in there.
Correct.
All right, are there any other questions for, yes, go ahead,
If we
Commissioner.
can circle around back to the beginning, what is the danger in the PFAS? to the public, to whatever? Why is this a concern?
That'd be a good question. Because, like I said, it's
It's
been around
everywhere.
for 80 years. It's a man-made organic compound. People, 95% of the humans today have it in their bloodstream. I know the chief doesn't want to hear this right now, but we're going to go on a little bit of an adventure, a nature hike. But they've tested the polar bears at the Antarctic, and they've tested positive for PFAS in their blood. And what they found out is going further back into the examinations, they found it from eating the seals from China. So, I mean, this is all the way around, this is globally. PFAS is out
They're
there.
causing all sorts of trouble.
All right, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. Let's move now, thank you, JB, Chief Moody, Chief Finn. Let's move now to item 5, discussion with possible action on the FEMA grant. Chief Finn, you have the FEMA grant information for us?
That was very informative.
It was, but bottom line.
FEMA released information yesterday or today, I've not had a chance to look,
Okay,
and that process closes, I believe, at the end of the month or like March 1st for equipment. So I'm looking for authorization from the Police and Fire Commission that if we see something by next Monday, and because it's got to go before council, and that's their committees. I've already talked to the comptroller, it's on the agenda, it could be removed. That it's going to be like an 80-20 or 90-10% match, depending on what we look at, for the authorization to go forward with that.
so fundamentally, you're asking the city council through its finance committee if you are successful in applying for the FEMA grant to be determined, whatever pieces of apparatus, equipment, and whatever monetary amount to be determined, is the city willing to meet the 10 or 20% local grant?
Correct.
Okay.
And Corey, is that your understanding? Okay.
All right, but we really don't know, is there an area we work from, is it you can apply up to $1 million, $500,000, $100,000? Do we have a range on this? Or is it, yes, Chief,
Chief Moody might
I'm
be
going to have
able
you
to
go over here so
He might be
you
able to
might.
answer the range question better than I right now.
Well, if it just came out, I mean, I think we need to move quickly, but I'd certainly be interested to know, I mean, what are we looking at,
So
Chief?
the reason this comes in front of you today is because the FEMA grant opened up actually February 3rd, yesterday, was the first day it was open.
Okay.
We look at high priorities, and that's what we write our grants on. We're not going to get any grants that are not high priorities. We realize that. We're not going to write for any grants that aren't worth at least $100,000 or better, usually, because it's not financially feasible. So we're looking to write grants for something in training, whether it's training props, bariatric ambulances, some type of piece of equipment, that's going to be in the range of $100,000 plus. The other problem is this grant closes March 1st. So it's open for a very short period of time. So 1 month it's open, we're looking at $100,000 plus grant range and for some type of piece of equipment or apparatus or training prop.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ostrowski. And we're sending this to the City Finance Committee and then to the council with our support. Chief Moody or Chief Finn, once the grant is actually written and submitted, would you copy the commissioners in their email, please?
Yes, we will.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, the approval of the minutes. Commissioners, you have the minutes from our last meeting.
I move approval.
Second.
Comment or discussion? All in favor of affirming the action taken by the commission at its January meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item number 7. No, that has not been tabled. Item 7 is the confirmation of the bills. Members of the commission, we're working a new system here where you have the bills prior to any signature being affixed. You've had an opportunity to review. What are your thoughts? And I just had a couple of questions. Chief, in the police department bill for January 15th, There's a bill for $1,423
Plowing.
for plowing. Are there any other private plow services used in the city of Stevens Point? And why are we using one here? And who does the other city properties?
It is a bit of a, there's a multitude of different entities that are doing this. So besides the city of Stevens Point through its streets division and its parks division, we currently are using this firm. We did go out and seek bids at the time when we moved in here, being advised that it was now our responsibility to provide the parking being plowed. Prior to us coming here, there was an arrangement while St. Michael's was under some construction that they would utilize this parking lot, and then they maintained the snow removal of the parking lot. So prior to that, Midstate had it. So the city, as an entity, had not plowed this from as long as I can recall.
I brought this up, I think, a couple meetings ago when I saw something like this, and it just blows my mind that the city isn't plowing part of their government structure,
Right.
and that we have to pay as taxpayers an extra $1,400 when it should be done by city vehicles.
Who plows the other city lots, I think is the, I mean, this
So-
is not the only city property.
So again, some of the, and again, I'm recalling, and some things may have changed over the last couple of years. I do believe that it is either Parks or Streets that has a private contract with another entity for doing a certain amount of the area. And I don't recall which parking lots right now. Some of it, as it was explained to me, has to do with staffing and timing. Obviously, when we were down in the city-county building, that area would get plowed. Immediately, this is a parking lot. Well, our vehicles need to get out. From an emergency services perspective, this building's open to the community. So again, it's not like it can wait till a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday to be removed, plowed and then salted or whatever.
Okay, who
So-
removes the snow at the fire stations?
We do.
Fire service.
We plow ourselves. Each apron's plowed. We have a plowed truck, and then it's either shovel or snow blower for all the sidewalks.
Does anybody know who plows the transit authority out there?
I have no idea.
I can look into it and report back if that's
Well, I'm
the
interested in
request of the
that.
commission.
I think we're all interested in that. Are there questions on other bills? Robert? No? All right, I'm gonna
Oh,
move.
wait, I did, I'm sorry. I'm just dying to know what pop sockets are for the ambulance bill, I think. Pop sockets, $711.50. It's a marketing thing. I'm sure to give
Public
out, but I don't know
education.
what a pop socket is, so I thought I'd ask.
Page it.
No,
You know what it is?
I don't know.
Hold on, let me get to that section.
Oh, it's no biggie.
Where'd
It
Chief
just,
Gemza go? He'd know. Is he out there?
oh, thank you.
It's
All
on your
right.
phone.
I can sleep tonight now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Sarah.
Oh, okay.
It is a promotional item.
Right.
I
yes.
move
Yeah,
approval
I-
of the bills.
I second.
You want one? I'll get you one.
I move approval of the bills.
I second.
Second by
Somebody
Commissioner
seconded
Kirschling. All in favor, please say aye.
Can I add a
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
I said it
Go ahead, Ron.
before the meeting, but I like the way the bills have been going now.
Good.
We get them ahead of time in the packet to look at them.
And I'll have to sign that today, too. All right, let's move to item number 8, the Fire Chief's Report and EMS Report. You have reports from Chief Finn, and then I'm going to have a follow-up question on the coronavirus for you, Chief. But I want you to review your report, Fire Chief's Report. Is Chief Gemza here?
No, they both had previous engagements they had to go through
Okay.
right after the presentation.
All right.
You both have the reports. The Phoenix G2 new paging system is installed and it's operating at the best it can operate. We cannot fully utilize it until the county gets a new CAD system, which they're in the process of doing. So that is up and working.
What is the county's timeline for operationalizing their CAD system? Do you know, Chief?
They're hoping to go to RFP at the end of this year and have it up and running next year.
So we were requested
Next year.
and we did earmark a dollar amount in the capital request for 2021.
Okay. All right, please continue.
Also, they're in the process, they're actually back today, of upgrading all the wiring at both firehouses to bring us our internet up to the 20th century. You notice I didn't say 21st, we're getting to the 20th now, but we're gonna be a lot better. And that's gonna fall right into upgrading their training, classroom and stuff. We had to wait for all this to get installed before we can update our trainings, our training room. So that's in the process of being worked on. Other than that, you have the reports in front of you. I would like to talk about, because I've mentioned it before, we are in the final stages, and I have a conference, myself and Chief Moody have a conference call tomorrow with the Department of Criminal Investigations. If I could, Leanne, put a MOU with Wisconsin DCI for the March meeting, and that's going to be for the first ever fire investigation class, certified fire investigation class in the state of Wisconsin. It's going to be hosted in Stevens Point.
Good.
We're working
Outstanding.
We're working with DCI at that. I'd also like to mention that February 21st, 22nd, 23rd, we are also hosting in the police department and then in the courtrooms, a courtroom testimony class for policemen and firemen that do fire investigations. This will give, I believe there's 12 people involved in this class. And the prerequisites to get into this class and the work, have all the work done is very extensive. But basically, it's for investigators that never been on a witness stand. They're gonna bring in U.S. attorneys. I got a call into the DA's office because a lawyer just dropped out yesterday, see if one of Portage County DAs will help out. And it helps the young investigators understand what it's like to be on a witness stand and get torn apart. It's not fun. Am I right, Ron?
That's right,
Am I right,
yeah.
Chief?
Oh, it's wonderful.
The training center, we're in the process of coming up with final renditions. We are working with city engineering on that, and once the snows melt, hopefully we can start moving around and getting more done over there. But this class will be held at the training site in the first week of April.
That sounds
And then
exciting.
you could ask the question. or you
I
want-
had asked the chief, we are certainly all following the news of the coronavirus, and I had asked the chief if we had received any guidance as far as additional precautions that our paramedics, police officers, or firefighters would be taking in response, to the virus. And I wanted to at least ask him the question and raise it's on the minds of a lot of people. And Bob, would you share with the commission what you shared with me, please?
We've been in contact with Department of Public Health. We've also been in contact with UWSP and their emergency management systems over there. I do know that UWSP over Christmas break said they had 50 students that were from China. When they returned back to UWSP, there was a self-reporting if you were in any of these providences or if you felt sick, to self-report it. The incubation period for that ended yesterday, and there was no reports. So we are keeping in contact with our public health partners, and if there's any need to do anything else, we will be doing it. But as of right now, it's not spreading in this country, but we are aware of it and have talked to our public health partners.
Good, thank you. Are there other questions for the fire chief on his report or the EMS report as this presented to the commission today?
Chief Fenn, on the fire report, and I realize some of these metro fire calls are not the city, I see a total fire losses of $500 for 8 fires, or would that only apply to the ones that were in the city?
They only apply to the ones in the city.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the report, place it on file.
So moved.
I'll second.
Gotcha.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Chief's report, police chief, item number 9, you're up, sir.
Regarding the report that you received, the larger thing to point out under our drug-related was that we did have an overdose death, unfortunately. We'll continue that investigation to see if there are any criminal charges related to that. We also had an investigation that led to arrest of a 17-year-old male recovering a firearm, again, along with the prescription meds, LSD. And so it's out there, and we're very thankful that the council and this commission was supportive in getting more staffing and getting a second drug officer for our department and our community. Aside from the report that you have, you did receive a couple of things in your packet, and as President Westcott pointed out, the article in the Novo catalog that is from a health side of things. Very fortunate to have, again, a community that has donated to the program. Officers themselves have donated to the program. And so it's been a collection and a collaborative effort. And clearly could not have been done without the help of our health providers, and the officers' involvement. Which brings me to the other handout, which is the annual report for the police and fire departments from our wellness program provider, and the savings from that. And obviously, it's a work in progress every year. The things that we can do for our officers and firefighters, whether it's physical or mental health, is very important. So,
Chief, would you talk a little bit for the benefit of those watching on television as to how the benefits factor is calculated? That is a very significant part of a report. The most important, of course, is health, mental health, physical health of all of our employees. But it is an important component as to how that savings number is, well, calculated and how it impacts. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
so within the report, it identifies what your traditional, so to speak, recovery time from a known injury is going to be. And by demonstrating and applying the resources that we now have here, having somebody on site twice a week that can enhance or add to the therapy that one of our personnel needs, besides going and at a reduced rate, typically than going to a provider elsewhere. And we can then have the assessments done, and if that officer or other person is able to return to work sooner, clearly those days saved from the workman's comp perspective, ensuring that when they are returning to work, that they're as healthy as they can be and are ready to return to work, so you don't have that reoccurring injury from it. So those are the various items that are utilized to calculate what the cost savings are. Dollars are going to be spent, unfortunately, when someone is hurt. The more we can reduce those expenditures is incredible. And as the comptroller treasurer could speak to, the lower the claims are, the lower the premiums are, that's saving taxpayer dollars.
Exactly. All right, other questions for the chief? Yes,
I have a
Ron, you were
question.
first.
Unfortunately, Chief, I left my magazine at home, otherwise I'd have dug through it. I did read it, but the question about the POET training or screening, is that for retirees or?
And so the way it is termed, so it is referring to the post-employment offer. So after the offer is made
gotcha.
here,
Okay.
it is the test, but it effectively is the pre-hiring test that is done, but they no longer use that term. So
There's Pope and Poet I just see on here, but I read it in the article and I thought it had something to do with retirees. I would swear there was something in there about that article. I was just looking to get these things pumped up. Just kidding.
Robert?
Chief, I noticed on looking at the cases versus injury location, the majority seems to be lower back and upper back. Is that for both departments? Is that, or is it?
So in speaking again with provider, actually, as they specialize more and work more with, as we're in the tactical fields that we are in, identifying that actually, if I'm remembering correctly, that it is the upper back from the firefighters in their lifting. The law enforcement side of things is lower back from chronically carrying the weight. and then being in a seated position. As I understand it, however, as we have transitioned and with the help of UW Eau Claire's research, we have moved to body carriers where all of that gear is carried differently instead of on the hips, or much of it. And so working again to better take care of our employees so they can better take care of our community.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept the police chief's report.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ostrowski. Is there further discussion, question, or comment on the chief's report? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item 10 is we're going to adjourn into, yes, sir.
I just want to mention
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
that our Explorer Post Saturday night is hosting a steak shrimp dinner at Moose Club. Remember the time, John? Because I don't.
I wanted to say, was it 6?
I thought it was 6 to 8, but I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
that's what I
So, and
thought.
it's a fundraiser for them, anyone interested in coming. It's very good food. That was all. Gotta get a commercial.
Should we build the Moose Club for a commercial here? or-
Oh, Bill, the fire department,
Oh,
Corey
yeah.
will pay it.
Just tell the
Yeah, I saw your budget for the year. You squeaked right in there. Okay, I'm going to move that we adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 1985, 1C, concerning the employment, the promotion, compensation, performance evaluation data of any public employee for which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. And additionally, Wisconsin statute 1985, 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investigating of public funds, or conducting other specific and specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session for the following: police officer applicant interviews. We will be interviewing 2 police officers today, 2 candidates for the positions, and we will have an update on, from Chief on the employee wellness program contract negotiation.
I'll second that.
Would you please call the roll?
Carlson?
Yes.
Kirschling?
Yes.
Moore?
yes.
Ostrowski?
Yes.
And Westcott?
Yes. Okay, we're in closed session. I'm going to clear the room. We are back into open session. It's approaching midnight. No one's going to know watching TV. They're going to think we actually would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been here all day.
Sarah's going to take a shot at the outside here and prove me wrong. All right, we are going to act on a number of items that we had discussion on during our closed session. Police officer interviews. At this point, colleagues, I wish to move that a conditional offer of employment be given to Jason Smith. That Jason Smith be offered a position as a police officer, probationary police officer, for the city of Stevens Point, contingent upon satisfactory completion of any additional hiring protocols that may exist at this time.
I'll second it.
All in favor of hiring Jason, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Congratulations, Jason. We'll do it now. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Jason, welcome. Welcome. You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Make us proud.
Welcome aboard, sir.
All right, with that being said, I'm going to move, members of the commission, that the city of Stevens Point extend an offer of employment as a probationary police officer to Kevin Gomez, and again, with the same stipulation that if you concur with my motion, Kevin would be hired after the satisfactory completion of any remaining hiring protocols that may or may not exist.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Kirschling. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Congratulations, Kevin.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Nice job. Welcome aboard.
Pleasure to get to know you, sir.
And thank you, Chief Zenner, for any role you may have had in that.
He opened the door rather nicely.
All right, the other item is the Employee Wellness Program. I'm going to make a motion that the Police and Fire Commission for the City of Stevens Point authorize the chief of police and the fire chief, because it pertains to both, to petition the city finance committee and ultimately the common council for the alderpersons to appropriate an additional up to,
Additional rate up to $75.
yeah, let me, there had been some discussion about a number, but I would agree with Commissioner Moore, who has suggested that we approve of petitioning the finance committee to provide a rate of up to $75 an hour for advanced therapy associates, and not cap the number at this time, or is there interest in capping the number at an additional 2,000?
Didn't you talk about a number? Or not a
Well,
dollar number?
the request was to go to $75. I'm supportive of going to the finance committee and ask the city fund the additional $75 for reasons we've already discussed earlier in the meeting based on that article. Is there a desire from the commission just to say authorize up to $75 based on the hourly assessment that Chief Skibba provided the commission based on 2019 utilization? I think we can let it go at that.
Yeah, I think that's short and sweet.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Both say no. Motion carries. Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.